Hello again, everyone. It is Gordon Majak here, back with you again on Saturday, June 1st, 2024. What a time to be alive in the good old US of A, huh? Well, today, folks, I want to share something with you that's been on my mind recently. And before I get to it, I want to sort of give you a little bit of the backstory here of my thought process with this channel. Now, when I started this channel several weeks ago, obviously I knew that my primary focus was a spiritual perspective. I really felt like I needed an outlet for my spiritual perspective, and that was the essence of the beginning of the channel, to focus on spiritual perspectives, spiritual insights, spiritual experiences, etc. And I really, to be honest with you, I was really conflicted. I have been conflicted and really going back and forth with myself in terms of how much, if any, time or energy or attention I wanted to give, not just today, but as the channel goes on, to any particular current events that may be going on. And I've really been wrestling with myself, going back and forth with that. And at first, I really wanted to just keep the channel purely spiritual. I did not want to get off into political or cultural or social stuff and start arguing about stuff and all of that. I didn't want any part of that. But as things occasionally do, events unfold and your feelings change on things, and you realize, or I've realized, I should say, I'll take ownership of this. I've realized that I really do have to sort of speak my piece. I need to say what I believe. I need to say what I'm thinking. And so that's what I intend to do in this video today, as far as current events. So over the last couple days here, I've been trying to organize my thoughts, and I wanted to keep it as short and sweet as possible, although that's not always possible. I did want to keep it somewhat concise. So I organized my thoughts on paper here, and I want to share this with you. And then at the end, here in a few minutes, if you stick around to the end, I will give you my most deeply held and sincere predictions of where I think we are going. Okay? So here's where I want to start. In terms of current events, I firmly believe, I deeply believe, that we are on the cusp right now of the biggest evolutionary leap forward, certainly in my lifetime, and I'm 65, going on 66 here next month. But the biggest evolutionary leap forward, certainly in my lifetime, if not in the history of our country, and I think it's going to happen in the next 5 years. We are fast approaching, I believe, a series of mind-blowing, transformative events that are far beyond the comprehension of most people. I believe that in order to survive and thrive in the coming months and years, we, as spiritual people, you and me on this channel, we need to do two things. First of all, number one, we need to cultivate the highest possible level of soul consciousness within ourselves. And that means cultivating and maintaining that spiritual awareness of the oneness, the union, and the perfection that already is, that already exists, that is the state of the highest spiritual perspective that we can have. Number two, I think it's essential that we cultivate and maintain also the highest level of what I would call 3D consciousness, or awareness of this material world here. And the way I sum that up is the realization of the reality of duality. Now, in terms of that first one, and maintaining the highest level of soul consciousness, that state of oneness and divine realization and perfection is always there. It's constant. It never ends. It's always available to us on the inner plane through a variety of practices such as meditation or contemplation or study, right? As we consciously cultivate the peace and love and joy of that higher awareness, it shows up down here in our 3D material world. It shows up in our physical life, our mental life, our emotional life, and the spiritual realm as well. It informs and transforms our daily experience of life, both on an individual basis and on a collective basis. But in the end, as above, so below. And we also need to maintain balance within ourselves. It is absolutely critical that we have balance. And what I mean by that is, in terms of that reality of duality that I spoke about a few minutes ago, the truth of the matter is that human beings create history. Whether we're awake or whether we're asleep, it never stops. Human beings create history. It never stops. And the reality of duality is that actions have consequences, causes have effects in terms of our individual and collective karma and the drama that we create for ourselves and for our world. And at the end of the day, everything is spiritual. And just as those higher states of awareness filter down into our everyday reality, the more you cultivate them and the more you maintain that higher awareness, the opposite is true. That the greater your awareness and the greater your wisdom of how this 3D material world really works, the reality of duality, that filters up into the spiritual realm. Ultimately, all of this is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. And it goes back and forth between the higher and the lower levels of awareness and the higher and lower levels of vibration and frequency, energy, all of that. The truth of the matter is, I believe, here on planet Earth right now, you'll hear people talking about, there's black hats and white hats. At the highest level, we're all pure souls. And some people have agreed to play the roles of the good guys, and some people have agreed to play the roles of the bad guys. And ultimately, it's all good. Well, I believe that ultimately it is all good. But I also believe in the reality of duality, that down here on planet Earth, good versus evil is a very real thing. This duality of good and evil, positive and negative, love and hate, that duality is a real thing down here where we live. There are those on this planet who want to create heaven on earth. I'm one of them, and I believe that I'm not alone. And significant steps have been taken to that end in ways that we don't even know about and don't even see for most of us. But it's also true that there are those here on planet Earth who want to impose hell on Earth. And they too have taken steps to do exactly that. The key to all of this is discernment, to discern who is who, to discern what is what, and to choose wisely, ultimately, of what we are going to do as human beings alive on this planet, how we are going to build this planet and create this everyday reality. And to that end, I want to wrap up with 3 predictions that I have. I had mentioned up there in the beginning that I believe we're on the cusp of the biggest evolutionary leap forward, certainly in my lifetime, if not in the history of our country. And as I said, these events that I believe are coming, they're mind-blowing, they're transformative, and this is just scratching the surface, okay? But let me give you 3 predictions. Number 1, Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, he's going to win the election this November in a historic landslide. Period. There's no stopping it. It's coming. He's going to win the election, and it may be by the biggest margin in history. It's going to be a margin so big that the people that would cheat to prevent it from happening won't be able to cover it up this time. It's going to happen. He's going to win the election. I also believe that he's going to go down in history as one of, if not the most impactful, and most historical presidents that we've ever had, precisely because of his ability to guide the country through the changes that are coming on his watch. Okay? So I think some of the changes that are coming will have his hand on them. I think other changes are far bigger than him, and it will be a matter of how he guides the country and the world, for that matter, through those changes. That's prediction number one. Trump's going to be president whether you like it or not. So you might as well start getting your head around that. If that makes your head want to explode, which I know it does for a lot of people, you better get back into your meditation and cultivate that higher awareness spiritually. And you better get back into taking a good look at the world around you and really understanding why things are the way they are, how much better they can be, and how we're going to get there. Number two, my second prediction. The financial market, not only in the U.S., but basically around the world, the global financial market, and particularly in the United States with the Federal Reserve, it's going to collapse, okay, under its own weight, and necessarily so. It's a good thing. It needs to collapse. The whole thing is fake to begin with, and it's going to come down. The dollar is going to come down to zero, okay? Nothing. People are going to panic. It's going to be very uncomfortable for a little while, but I'm not the only one that knows about this and that has figured that out. Thank God. There are people much smarter than I, much wiser than I, much more spiritually attuned than I, that are aware of what's going on, that are working on this. And after a brief period of discomfort, they are going to flip a switch, and we are going to implement, or they are going to implement, I should say, a brand new financial system. And our money will be a combination of virtual currency that's built through blockchain technology, backed by the gold standard. We are going back to the gold standard, and we are getting rid of, once and for all, the fiat, corrupt U.S. dollar. It never should have been there in the first place, and it's coming down. Getting there, it's going to hurt. It's going to be painful for a little while. But a new financial system is coming to this world, and I think that's going to happen within the next 3 to 5 years. Excuse me. Let me grab a drink here. Finally, my third prediction, in terms of the ET and UFO phenomenon, disclosure is coming. It's coming within the next 5 years. I believe it will be simultaneously more exhilarating and more terrifying than we can possibly imagine. It's not all sweetness and light when it comes to ET phoning home, okay? And we're about to find that out in a big way. The upshot of it all, ultimately, it's not only a good thing, it's the best thing, because the residents of planet Earth, you, me, and everyone else on this globe, we are about to become a universal species. And again, people a lot smarter and more enlightened than I know that and are working to that end. But we're going to find out the truth, and it's going to terrify some people, and it's going to be exhilarating and mind expanding at the same time, but it's coming. So there's my 3 predictions for you. Very generally, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds, obviously, but I wanted to at least share exactly how I feel from a what you would call an integrated perspective, based on my spiritual awareness, whatever spiritual wisdom I have, my spiritual contemplation, my connection to the higher world based on that, and also my understanding of how life really works down here in the 3D material world. And again, I called that the reality of duality. When you put those two things together, the spiritual awareness with the sense of discernment that is essential to figure out who's who and what's what. And like I was saying earlier, it's one thing to say, oh, there's actors playing black hats and there's actors playing white hats. Yeah, all that may be fine, but at the end of the day, some people are doing good things and some people are doing evil things, and we cannot truly build a healthy, happy, fulfilling, I don't even know what else you want to call it. The world that we all want and that we all should have. It's overdue, but it is coming. So I just wanted to share that. Again, I am sure some of you disagree. Many of you may disagree. You don't like Trump? Okay, that's your right. You think the financial system is great just the way it is, with all the obvious corruption, just global corruption, just on an unbelievable level. Okay, you like stashing your millions of dollars and all that, or you like living paycheck to paycheck and worrying about every little thing. Those days are coming to an end, and for my money, no pun intended, it can't happen fast enough, but it's coming, and we're going back on the gold standard. And finally, as I said about the UFOs and ETs, we're going to get to the bottom of that. And if you thought Star Trek was fun, if you grew up like I did as a kid watching Star Trek and then Star Trek The Next Generation, and then we got into Star Wars and all of that, if you liked all that, you're probably going to like the next couple decades here on planet Earth as we become a planetary species. It's coming, folks. Buckle up, and the fun is really just starting. And as I said, you know, in the beginning of the channel, I was really torn whether to even share any of this kind of information because I really wanted to keep the focus on the spiritual side of it. But what I realized yesterday, after I was sort of contemplating my own teacher and teachers and how they tended to handle current events and how they spoke to their students and wrote in their books about current events. As I really dwelled on that the last few days, I just felt like it was absolutely essential and it was needed. And whether anybody agrees or disagrees is irrelevant. I have to be true to myself, and I have to be true to what I believe, and in this case, to what I believe I know about what is coming. And we are so close to it, folks. I said we're on the cusp, and I said that within the next 5 years, but the truth of the matter is here in the next several weeks and the coming months, you're going to see undeniable signs of things moving in these directions. And it's coming. Trump will be the first one. Don't know when the financial market's going to crash, but it's coming down. I don't know the date of the ET UFO disclosure, but it's coming. All of the momentum, both on the spiritual level and down here on the earthly level, all of the momentum, the river of human evolution is moving forward at a rate that I don't think most people are even consciously aware of. But there it is. We're going to get there. It's going to be a challenge. But I have decided that I need to speak up and present the truth of my feelings and my thoughts and my beliefs and what I know about this. And so here it is. I felt like I had to do it. Time is short, folks. We got to get to it. Time to clear your head. Time to figure out who's who and what's what. Don't get caught up in black hats and white hats and all this stuff. The reality is down here on planet Earth, there is duality, and there is good and evil, and there are people who want to kill you, and there are people who want to make your life better. And I have a feeling we're about to get a crystal clear illustration of just who is who in the months ahead. So pay attention. Meditate, folks. Discernment is critical in these times. It's so easy to be fooled by the noise out there and the propaganda. And the way you get around that is by quieting your mind, quieting your body, sitting in silence and stillness. It really, really, really works. Trust me. I will see you folks in the next one, maybe tomorrow. Take care and have a great weekend. Love you all so much.